Imagine you are sitting in a modern classroom, flipping through a standard world history textbook. You look at the maps of South Asia, and a very specific, deeply ingrained narrative is fed to you. We are told that Pakistan is merely a modern political anomaly, a nation born practically overnight in August 1947. You are conditioned to believe that the land you are standing on has no deep, foundational history of its own, and that all the Asian glory, all the rich civilizational heritage of the subcontinent belongs exclusively to a neighboring country. But what if I told you that the exact opposite is true? What if I told you that the very soil beneath your feet is the undisputed geographical epicenter of one of the three greatest Asian civilizations in human history? And what if I told you that the very name of the neighboring country that claims this heritage was literally derived from a massive river that flows almost entirely through the heart of Pakistan? Now, a lot of people think that history is just a collection of dates and borders drawn by British colonizers. They think claiming a 5,000-year-old civilization is just empty nationalist propaganda designed to make a new country feel old. But we will get to that massive ongoing geopolitical battle over historical identity in just a moment. First, to truly understand the sheer magnitude of what has been quietly erased from your national consciousness, we have to travel far back in time. We have to understand exactly how the ultimate sandbox of human urbanization was actually built from the ground up. See, to comprehend the true origins of Indus Valley Civilization, you cannot start in a modern museum. You have to go straight into the rugged, dry mountains of Balochistan. We are talking about the Neolithic period, tracing all the way back to 7,000 years before the Common Era. There is an archaeological site there called Mehrgarh. For decades, Western historians falsely assumed that the advanced civilization was simply transplanted into South Asia from Middle East. But Mehrgarh completely shattered that illusion. It proves absolutely that Indus Valley Civilization evolved organically right here on Pakistani soil. They were the absolute pioneers of human survival. They successfully domesticated wild animals. They cultivated vast, sprawling fields of wheat and barley. They were even performing early rudimentary dentistry while the vast majority of the world was still hunting and gathering in the dark wilderness. The cultural and technological developments forged at Mehrgarh eventually migrated directly down into the fertile floodplains of Indus River. The foundation of the ancient world was not imported from abroad. It was born in Balochistan. And what happened when the Indigenous Agriculture Foundation finally exploded into a full-scale urban society? It created a Bronze Age superpower. Between 2600 and 1900, before the Common Era, the civilization reached into absolute peak, sustaining a massive, thriving population of roughly 4 to 6 million people. It became a sprawling, highly organized society that stretched across the ancient world. But the defining absolute crown jewels of this civilization were its majestic urban metropolises. And the two greatest cities of this ancient world are deeply, permanently embedded inside the borders of modern Pakistan. Look at Mohenjo-Daro resting peacefully on the banks of Indus River in the Sindh province. Excavated in 1922, it is widely considered the largest and most technologically advanced metropolis of the entire third millennium. And its absolute peak, it housed up to 60,000 people. Now look at Harappa, resting along the banks of Ravi River in the Punjab province. Its discovery in 1921 was so monumental that archaeologists frequently refer to the entire era as the Harappan civilization. These were not primitive, chaotic settlements thrown together by chance. They were structural masterpieces. They built massive, heavily fortified citadels. They built highly organized grid pattern layouts where major streets ran precisely from north to south and east to west. They built unparalleled water and drainage systems that rival modern municipal engineering. They built private houses with dedicated bathing platforms, featuring sloping floors that directed vast water perfectly into covered street drains. They engineered massive sophisticated greniers, completely standardized their internal weights and measures, and crafted the world's earliest known rulers out of pure ivory. To truly establish Pakistan as the absolute inheritor of this civilization, you have to look at the sheer staggering density of primary historical sites scattered across its modern provinces. It is not just about two massive cities. The entire landscape is a sprawling archaeological goldmine. In Balochistan, you have Sutkajan-Dor resting on the Dasht River. This was the absolute westernmost outpost of the empire, serving as a vital, highly fortified trade point between Harappa and the distant, lucrative markets of Babylon. Down in Sindh, you have Amri on the Indus River displaying the raw, undeniable evidence of pre-Harappan cultures. You have Mohenjo-Daro, a massive, bustling industrial hub that operated entirely without a citadel, dedicating its existence to massive bed-making factories, steel production, and bangle manufacturing. Directly opposite Mohenjo-Daro lies Kot Diji, guarding the mysterious origin of honored deity motif and entirely farming tools. Hidden deep within Cholistan Desert in Punjab lies Ganverewala, a massive, largely excavated urban center that represents yet another large mega-city of this Asian superpower. Even the southern coastline near modern Karachi hosts Balakot, providing the absolute earliest evidence of specialized shell processing units and massive industrial furnaces. Everywhere you dig, you find the ancient, undeniable roots of Pakistan. And they did not just keep this brilliance to themselves. They were global pioneers. They manufactured standardized big bricks with an exact structural ratio of 4:1:1, a ratio recognized today as structurally ideal for building immense strength. They deployed the world's earliest animal drone plows to conquer the earth. They were highly literate, globally connected maritime merchants. Goods produced in the Indus Valley were aggressively exported to Asian Summer, to Ur, and to Egypt. The mighty Babylonians actively traded with them, referring to the inhabitants of Indus Valley as Meluha, explicitly honoring their exceptional, unmatched fondness for deep-sea vegas. They were the ultimate trade superpower of the ancient world. So, why is this history constantly misattributed? Why is the world conditioned to call this an exclusively Indian heritage, completely bypassing the modern state of Pakistan? It all comes down to the brutal, distorting lens of post-colonial nomenclature. Because these majestic cities were excavated in the 1920s during the era of British Raj, the international academic literature historically framed every single discovery within an Indian context. The world adopted the terminology of British Empire without question. But we need to look strictly at the hard, undeniable geographic and archaeological reality. An estimated 345,000 square kilometers of this civilization landmass is located directly within modern Pakistan, compared to just 246,000 square kilometers in modern India. Later, post-migration settlements spilled over the modern border due to the changing river patterns. The absolute core, the foundational origins, and the massive, crucial culture centers remain permanently rooted in Pakistan. The sites scattered across the Indian border largely represent the dying eastern periphery of a civilization whose beating heart was firmly locked in the Indus Basin. To truly reclaim this legacy, you have to look at the water. Rivers dictate the absolute identities of Asian civilization. Just as the Nile is the undeniable soul of Egypt, the Darya-e-Sindh, the mighty Indus River, is the civilizational spine of Pakistan. The geopolitical identity of this land has historically been anchored exclusively within the Indus Basin. It is an entirely distinct, separate ecological and historical unit from Gangetic heartland that ultimately shaped modern Indian identity. Even the Rig Veda, a foundational Asian text composed thousands of years ago, explicitly refers to this specific geographic region as Sindhu, the historical constant that unites every single province of Pakistan today. From the ancient Paleolithic stone toolmakers of the Swamp Valley near Rawalpindi, to the brilliant urban architects of Mohenjo-Daro in Sindh, to the maritime traders on the Arabian Sea coast in Balochistan, the Indus River has been the consistent, unyielding theater of your history. History does not happen in a vacuum, and civilization do not simply vanish when modern politicians draw lines on a map in 1947. You are not living in a newly invented country completely devoid of historical depth. You are standing on a 5,000-year-old, unbroken continuum of human brilliance. The traditional agrarian rhythms of the rural farmers today, the stylistic curves of local pottery, and the deep fundamental geography of a nation remains fundamentally tied to the exact same people who built Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. Pakistan is not a state without a past. It is the direct, undeniable territorial and cultural heir to one of the greatest urban civilizations the earth has ever witnessed. The days of allowing foreign narratives to completely erase your historical identity must come to an end. It is time to look at the baked bricks, the ancient rivers, and the buried cities, and finally realize the cradle of South Asia civilization and always have been your home.